Good morning. Today we'll be talking about the second most important aspect of cyclodecision reactions, which we call it as heliotropic reactions. Now, these reactions are important from the fact that these are a category of cyclodecision reactions. The only difference is that the two new sigma bonds formed in a cyclodecision process forms on a same carbon atom. So, if two new sigma bonds are formed on the same carbon atom, this kind of category of the cyclodecision reaction is the heliotropic reactions. For example, let's talk about a reaction of ethene with, let's say, carbene. Let's say this reaction is such that there's a n pi electrons of ethene which are participating, n pi electrons of carbene. Now, from n pi electrons we mean here not just the pi electrons, we mean the 2 electrons of the lone pair. Here we talk about the 2 electrons of the pi bond. Now what happens, there's a bond formation between this carbon and this double bonded carbon atom, a bond formation between this carbon atom and the carbene, resulting in the formation of a 3-membered ring. If you look at the product side, this component, this one, which was from this ethene reactant, is now having m minus 2 pi electrons. Carbene is 2 electrons short from its lone pair, and 2 new sigma bonds are formed, and both sigma bonds, as you can see, are formed on same carbon atom. If that is the case, we call these kind of reactions as heliotropic reactions. Now, heliotropic reactions occur, or there are two modes, stereochemical modes, or two orientations in which the heliotropic reactions can occur. These two modes are the linear approach and the non-linear approach. When we talk about the linear approach, we say the plane of two substituents on the carbene is perpendicular to the carbon-carbon double bond of the alkene. If this kind of an approach occurs, in which the plane of the two substituents on the carbene is perpendicular to the carbon-carbon bond of the alkene, we call this approach as linear approach. What do we mean by this thing? Let's say this is the carbon-carbon bond of the alkene. This carbon-carbon bond, let's say this is the pi bond here. And if my carbene approaches in such a way that the lobe on the carbon atom, or the substituents on the carbene, let's say this is my carbene, and carbene, instead of hydrogens I have two different substituents, substituents, and these two different substituents plane is such that it is perpendicular to the plane of the carbon-carbon double bond of the carbon-carbon bond of the alkene. What I'm trying to say, that this is the plane of the carbon-carbon bond of the alkene. This group is above the plane, this group is below the plane. That means the plane is something like this. This one is the plane, and this plane are perpendicular to one another. If that is the case, then we say this kind of an approach is a linear approach. And on the contrary, a linear approach can be designated in two ways. One way of doing linear approaches, therefore linear approach should be one in which we should have the plane of the two substituents on the carbene perpendicular to the carbon-carbon bond, the molecular plane or the carbon-carbon bond of the alkene. So if we are talking about, this is the molecular plane, the carbon-carbon single bond of the alkene, the two substituents on carbene, this substituent and this substituent, this would be above the plane, this would be below the plane, as if the plane is something like this. This is the plane of the carbon-carbon bond of the alkene. See, these two things are perpendicular. If this is the case, we call this approach as linear approach. Now, how do you draw this linear approach, the orbitals in terms of the orbitals? Now, one thing we have to follow from the Cartesian coordinate geometry is that how do we draw the HOMOs and LOMOs in the case of carbenes in a linear approach. Now, this we have to remember Let's say if I'm talking about this example only, in which I've shown the approach of the ethene, the carbene molecule onto ethene, then in that case there are two possible orientations, or the two possible ways in which you can draw the product for the lobes for this one. Let's say I draw my alkene in this fashion, in which we know that alkene is formed of two carbon atoms which forms a pi bond. So there are two electrons, two molecular orbitals. We call these molecular orbitals as pi 1 and pi 2, pi 1 and pi 2 star 1 and pi 2 star. And now since I have to draw, if in an FN approach I have to draw HOMO of one and LUMO of the other, let's start by taking the LUMO of the alkene and HOMO of the carbene. While drawing the LUMO of the alkene, we know the LUMO should be pi 2 star with one node is there, so if this is plus, this will be minus. We know this thing simple. Now here we have to remember that when we are drawing the HOMO for the carbene, the depiction has to be very clear that while drawing the HOMO of the carbene, the P lobe of the carbene should be directly facing the P lobes of the alkene. This is the orientation one has to remember. And if you assume that this is the way it should be drawn, then if you look at the interaction, the bonding interaction between these lobes, because we know that there should be a bond formation between this carbon atom and this carbon atom, there should be a bond formation between this and this. That means the carbene's carbon should form two sigma bonds onto one another, onto itself. Therefore, if you look at the interaction, this plus interacts with plus, but this minus cannot interact with this plus. Therefore, there are anti-bonding interactions. Hence, we can say this process, that is the linear approach of carbene onto alkene. Since we have not excited the molecule, we are talking about thermal conditions. Therefore, the linear approach of carbene onto alkene under thermal conditions is a forbidden process. We can go vice versa. If we have taken the LUMO of the alkene, in the next case we can take the HOMO of the alkene. If we have taken the HOMO of carbene, we can take the LUMO of carbene. Again, if we draw the HOMO of alkene, a 2 electron system, HOMO will be pi 1 with 0 nodes. So this is the orbital picture. If this is plus, this has to be plus. Again, one has to remember, while drawing the LUMO of the carbene, the p orbitals are shown in such a way that this p orbital is not facing the p orbitals of the alkene directly. And if this is the case, if you look at the interaction, study the interaction between this thing. Of course, whatever is the result we're getting in the LUMO-HOMO interaction, similar result we should get in the HOMO-LUMO interaction also. So if there is a bonding interaction between this and this p lobe and this p lobe are plus and minus are interacting. Therefore, there is an anti-bonding interaction. Again, hence we can say the linear approach of carbene onto alkene under thermal conditions is a forbidden process. Therefore, if you write or draw the linear approach of carbenes, now we have to understand a few facts here. While drawing the carbene orbitals in a linear approach, what do we need to remember? First, if we are drawing the HOMO orbital of the carbene, then the HOMO orbital of the carbene should be drawn in such a way that its lobes should always directly face the p orbital lobes of the alkene. Means if I am drawing the HOMO of the carbene, its p orbital, this lobe, should always directly face the lobe of the alkene. So these are this and directly facing one another. This is the depiction for the HOMO. See, lobe are directly facing one another. You can write this as one orientation in which I have drawn the alkene in this fashion. I can also draw alkene in this fashion. Again, point to remember is that whenever we are drawing the p lobe or the HOMO of the carbene, the p lobe of the carbene or the p orbital of the carbene lobes should directly face each other. Therefore, either you can write this depiction or you can write this depiction. This is similar. In both cases, we can see that the p lobe of the carbene is directly facing the p lobes of the alkene. P lobe of the carbene is again directly facing the p lobes of the alkene. This is the drawing, or this is the orientation of the HOMO orbital of the carbene, which will always remain true. And while drawing the other orbital, that is the LUMO orbital of the carbene, this would again be simple. While drawing the LUMO orbital of the carbene, one has to remember that LUMO orbital of the carbene is drawn in such a way that its p orbital does not directly face the p orbitals of the alkene. What does it mean? If I draw the orientation one in which I am drawing the alkene in this way, let's say this is the p orbitals of the alkene, the LUMO has to be drawn for the carbene in such a way, if the p orbitals are in this side, the p orbital of the carbene is not directly facing the alkene, so it has to be drawn in this way. This is one orientation. If as alkene is drawn in this fashion as we conventionally draw it, then the LUMO of the carbene has to be drawn in such a way that the p lobe is not directly facing the p lobes of the alkene. This is the orientation or the orientation of the HOMO and LUMO of the carbene in the case of a linear approach. This one has to remember how do we draw the HOMO and LUMOs of carbenes or any other reactant in a heliotropic reaction. And while considering the non-linear approach, one has to remember that the plane of the two substituents on carbene is parallel to the carbon-carbon bond of the alkene, the carbon-carbon single bond of the alkene. Therefore, if I draw the carbon-carbon bond of the alkene in this way, let's say in this fashion or in this direction, then the plane of the two substituents on carbene, what are the two substituents on carbene? One here, one here. You can very well imagine that this bond would be like above the plane and this bond would be below the plane. So I have two bonds which are like this. They are facing one above the plane and one below the plane. This is the carbon-carbon bond. This is the bond of the plane of the alkene. So both are parallel to one another. So if this is the case, that this substituent is above the plane, this substituent is below the plane. This will be the plane. Carbon-carbon single bonds plane is like this. Both planes are parallel. This orientation or this approach is called the non-linear approach. So there are two ways in which the non-linear approach can be drawn. While drawing the HOMO for the carbene, in the case of non-linear approach, one has to remember that this is drawn in such a way that the p lobe of the carbene do not directly face the p lobes of the alkene. This orientation is similar to the orientation in the case of linear approach, for which we corresponding to the LUMO orbital. So whatever is the orientation of the LUMO orbital in the case of linear approach, the same orientation will be there for the HOMO orbital in the case of non-linear approach. So HOMO for non-linear would be LUMO for linear, and HOMO for linear would be LUMO for the non-linear approach. Therefore, if I repeat again, the p lobe of the carbene do not directly face the p lobe of the alkene in the case of while drawing the HOMO of the carbene, and while drawing the LUMO of the carbene, the p lobe on the carbene should be directly facing the p lobe of the alkene. This is the orientation one has to remember while considering the non-linear approach. So two orientations: HOMO, the p lobe is not directly facing; LUMO, the p lobe is directly facing. Remember the plane of the substituents. This is above the plane, this is below the plane. So this plane is something like this. And if this is something like this, this and this planes are parallel to one another and they are parallel to one another. Similarly, if you look at this substituent and this substituent, one is above the plane, another one is below the plane, this one is the plane. If this is the plane, this and this plane are parallel to one another. And if they are parallel to one another, this approach is called the non-linear approach. Now, as you can see, while considering the FMO approach in understanding this reaction, if I am drawing, let's say, LUMO for the alkene, of course I am drawing the HOMO for the carbene, and we know the heliotropic reactions are one in which two single bonds or sigma bonds are formed onto the same carbon atom, that is the carbene-carbon. Now, therefore, if I study the orientation here, this is a bonding interaction, this one is a bonding interaction. Therefore, both sigma bonds which are to be formed are showing bonding interaction, hence this process is allowed. And whatever is the result while considering the HOMO of the carbene and LUMO of the alkene, the same result we'll get while considering the LUMO of the carbene and the HOMO of the alkene. Let's check it out. This is plus while drawing the HOMO of the carbene. While drawing LUMO, I have to draw it in this fashion so as to face the p lobes of the alkene. See, positive interacts with positive, positive interacts with positive. That means there are bonding interaction. If there are bonding interaction, this process is allowed. Therefore, I can say, hence, according to the FMO approach, both terminal lobes of the ethene and the p lobe of the carbene are having bonding interactions, and therefore I can assume and say that non-linear approach, the approach we are considering right now, non-linear approach of carbene to ethene under thermal conditions is a allowed process. Now I've written thermal conditions. Since we are talking about the HOMOs of the alkene and LUMOs of the alkene and we are not exciting the molecule, therefore the consideration or the reaction condition under consideration is thermal only. We'll talk about the photochemical aspects also, but at present we are considering the thermal process. Hence, since there were bonding interactions at both ends in both approaches, either considering the HOMO of the carbene or the LUMO of the ethene, or considering the LUMO of the carbene and HOMO of the ethene, Therefore, non-linear approach of carbene to ethene under thermal condition is a allowed process. Okay, one has to remember two things, that while drawing the carbene orbitals in the case of non-linear approach, one has to remember HOMO is drawn in such a fashion that the HOMO orbital's p lobes do not directly face the p lobes of the alkene. So I have two orientations listed here. First orientation is alkene drawn in this fashion. See, HOMO of the carbene is drawn in such a fashion that if the p lobes are drawn in this fashion, the p lobe of the carbene is not to be shown on the side of the p lobes of the alkene, does not directly face. If alkene is drawn in this fashion, then the HOMO of the carbene has to be drawn in such a fashion that the p lobe directly does not face the p lobes of the ethene. So this is the way in which we draw the HOMO of the carbene in the case of non-linear approach. And let's try to write the HOMO of the LUMO of the carbene in the case of non-linear approach. Again, this is simple. LUMO orbitals of the carbene are drawn in such a way that the p lobes of the carbene face the p lobes of the alkene directly. Therefore, if I'm drawing the LUMO of the carbene and if I'm drawing the alkene in this fashion where the p lobes are drawn in this way, since it has to face directly, the p lobes of the carbene and p lobes of the alkene are directly facing. If I'm drawing the alkene in this fashion, again the p lobes have to be drawn in such a way that they are facing directly. Therefore, in the case of the linear and non-linear approach, one has to remember how the HOMOs and LUMOs have to be drawn. Remember, in the case of linear approach, we draw HOMO in such a way that the p lobes of the carbene are directly facing the p lobes of the alkene. Similar result we get in the case of LUMO in non-linear approach. And if we draw the LUMO in the case of linear approach, they are not directly facing. Same result we get in the HOMO while considering the non-linear approach. Now we'll talk about the different examples of heliotropic reactions. Let's start with an example in which we are talking about the addition of sulfur dioxide to hexa-2,4-diene to give dihydrothiophene dioxide. Or you can also talk the reverse reaction, since these reactions, heliotropic reactions, are largely reversible. Therefore, you could either talk about the addition of sulfur dioxide to a diene moiety to form this dihydrothiophene dioxides, or you can talk about the reversal or the extrusion of sulfur dioxide to give back a diene and sulfur dioxide molecule. Anyways, if I talk about the if I have to write the product using the arrows, it is extremely simple. We just need to move the arrows in the right direction so as to form the product. For example, as in the case of this reaction, that is the addition of sulfur dioxide to diene. Again, this is a heliotropic reaction, because a heliotropic reaction, which is a class of cycloaddition reaction, because of the fact that both new sigma bonds are formed at the sulfur atom. So when two new sigma bonds are formed at one atom and first component loses 2 pi electrons in the formation of product, and the second component loses the first component loses 2 pi electrons, second component also loses 2 electrons. This, in the case of lone pair of electron, we categorize these reactions as cycloaddition reactions. So how do we write the product? Just we move the arrows in this direction, let's say, so that there will be a bond formation between sulfur and this atom, something like this. This bond will start breaking and this arrow will move here, this arrow will move here, so that a transition state is followed, which is of course, as in non-pericyclic reactions, cyclic in nature. Let's try to explain this example in detail. Let's say I'm talking about hexa-2,4-diene and sulfur dioxide is addition to it. Let's say the positioning. Let's take one example in which the position of the two methyl substituents on this diene moiety is such that they are let's say this is away from the diene, this is also away from the diene, or you can say both have the E geometries with respect to the diene moiety. Let's say if they add to sulfur dioxide, let's consider all various possibilities of the approach. We'll start with A, linear approach, and then we'll talk about B, the non-linear approach. Now let's start with linear approach under thermal conditions. Right, this is my molecule, my hexadiene, my hexa-2,4-diene, in which both methyls are in this position. This adds to sulfur dioxide. Now in thermal conditions, I have to take, under thermal conditions, I have to take either, and using the FMO approach, I have to take HOMO of one reactant and LUMO of the other. Let's say I start by taking the HOMO of the diene and LUMO of the sulfur dioxide moiety. Now considering the HOMO of the diene, we know this is a 4-electron system, therefore HOMO has to be Psi2 with one node, and this is the orbital picture in this node, one node depicted here. Since there is an odd node, that means the terminal lobes of the diene system on the same face will have different signs, and that is what we encounter in this case. So plus, plus, minus and minus. Now we know from our explanation that if we have to draw the LUMO of a carbene or a sulfur dioxide or any second reactant of the heliotropic reaction, then LUMO is in the case of linear approach. This is a linear approach. LUMO in the case of linear approach never faces the P lobes of the dyne. Therefore, LUMO is drawn in this fashion. Now let's see if the LUMO is drawn in this fashion. I purposely keep this as plus because I have to show a bonding interaction here. This would be of course minus. Now if you follow this bonding interaction between this lobe and the sulfur dioxide's this lobe, and sulfur dioxide's this lobe, you can see that the lower face are showing bonding interactions here. Plus is interacting with plus, minus is interacting with minus. What will happen? Therefore, this would mean when this will cyclize, this will form a bond with this atom, this lobe, this will form a bond with this lobe. Therefore, eventually these two lobes will move with respect to one another. How they are moving? See, once in order to form the bond, this will move in, let's say, an anti-clockwise fashion, and this will move in a again in an anti-clockwise fashion. As you, this will move in a anti-clockwise fashion. This will also move in an anti-clockwise fashion. So both lobes are moving in an anti-clockwise fashion. That would mean I can say that as far as these two lobes are concerned, with respect to each other, they are moving in a disrotatory fashion. Now, we can get confused by just looking at this thing, that this is plus, this is minus. How can these two lobes interact to form a bonding interaction if it is a disrotatory enclosure? Remember, the bond is not formed between this and this carbon atom. The bond is formed between this carbon atom and this sulfur moiety, this carbon atom and this sulfur moiety. So therefore, directly these two lobes are not interacting. Indirectly, we can say once it forms a bond, it has to move in this direction to form the bond. This has to move in this direction to form the bond. Therefore, both terminal lobes of sulfur dioxide molecule, while bonding with both terminal lobes of the dyne moiety, while bonding with sulfur dioxide molecule, in the case of linear approach, has to undergo a disrotatory mode of ring closure. And if you understand this topic that it is a disrotatory mode of ring closure, this would mean if this lobe is moving in this direction, what will happen to methyl? This methyl will go below the plane, because once this lobe moves in this direction, methyl will also follow and will go below the plane. Similarly, if methyl is in this direction on this lobe, if this lobe moves in this direction, methyl will also go below the plane. Hence, if you follow methyl going below the plane, ultimately in the product, once this carbon atoms assume an sp3 hybridization, both methyls are going below the plane. Therefore, we are adding one more very important facet to the heliotropic reactions, is that even though the process is a cycloaddition reaction, we are closing the rings in such a way that the terminal lobes of the dyne will either close in a quadrotatory fashion or a disrotatory fashion, depending upon the bonding interactions in linear or non-linear approach. I'll repeat again. We've considered the FMO approach. We've considered HOMO and LUMO here. HOMO is Psi2. This was the orbital picture. LUMO in the case of linear approach is not directly facing the line. This is the orbital picture in the case of linear approach as far as the LUMO of sulfur dioxide is concerned. I've tried to work out the bonding conditions, and bonding conditions were achieved if both the lower faces, that means dyne was adding suprafacially with respect to the two lobes. And once it is adding suprafacially with respect to two lobes, while bonding, both lobes are moving as if there is a disrotatory ring closure. And since there is a disrotatory ring closure, both the substituents attached to this carbon atom will also move in a disrotatory fashion, and the product will correspond to this kind of a disrotatory motion. Now, this was the linear approach under thermal conditions, where we have taken the HOMO of the dyne and LUMO of the dyne. Of course, if we take the other way around, that is, if we take the LUMO of the dyne and HOMO of the dynophile, the orbital picture will still remain the same. Of course, once we take the HOMO of the dyne, once we take the LUMO of the dyne, one electron from, of course, Psi2 jumps to Psi3 star. Therefore, the LUMO is Psi3 star with two nodes. Two nodes means even nodes, and even nodes means the terminal lobes of the dyne on the same face will have same signs. Of course, one node here, one node here. If this is plus, this becomes minus, minus and plus. We all know this thing. Now, drawing the HOMO for sulfur dioxide or for carbene is always simple, that while drawing the HOMO for the carbene or sulfur dioxide in the case of linear approach, the P lobe directly faces the lobes of the dyne. This is the representation. Now, my orbital picture is such that the lower face has both plus signs, this face has plus sign. So if you can see, the bonding interaction is achieved if the dyne's same face add, that means dyne is adding in a suprafacial manner. Moreover, while bonding, as you can see, this lobe and this lobes are closing in. since these two lobes are closing in, as I've depicted here also, since these two lobes are closing in, this methyl substituent will go down, this methyl substituent will go down. That means in the product both methyls will be going down, and this is the same result which we expectedly have observed in the case of the HOMO of the diene and LUMO of the dienophile. Therefore, I can sum up this linear approach for thermal conditions, that both lobes of the diene are interacting with the p lobe of the side of the sulfur dikes in a bonding manner that is suprafacial. Both are adding in a suprafacial manner, both the terminal lobes of the diene with sulfur dioxide in order to achieve the bonding interaction. It can be said that linear approach of sulfur dioxide in the suprafacial suprafacial to the diene under thermal condition is allowed with this rotation. So I've talked about 4 variables here. We've already discussing the thermal conditions. Under thermal conditions, we are talking about the linear approach, fine linear approach. Then the reactions are suprafacial in nature because the same phase of the diene is adding, and finally this reaction is allowed with, as we can see, with this rotation. So 4 variables decide the state of the fate of a heliotropic reaction in a particular example. Okay, this we have discussed about the linear approach under thermal conditions. Now we'll talk about the similar linear approach under photochemical conditions. Now it is simple to imagine that once we are taking photochemical conditions, I have to excite an electron from the HOMO and it will go to the next higher orbital, and that will now become HOMO. Now, in considering the photochemical condition, only the HOMO of the dienes are considered to make the thing simplified. So, if I'm considering photochemical conditions, I don't need to consider other alternatives. Only I need to consider the HOMO of the diene. Okay. Under photochemical conditions, once a photon of light strikes to the HOMO under ground state, which was psi 2, one electron jumps from psi 2, and now the new HOMO is psi 3 star having 2 nodes. So if I have to draw the HOMO of this thing and to draw the LUMO of sulfur dioxide, then the things are again simple. In the case of photochemical conditions, HOMO is psi 3 star with 2 nodes. That means the terminal lobe same phase has same sign. The LUMO is drawn in such a way that the p lobe of the sulfur dioxide is not directly facing this thing. So if you look at the interaction, this positive interacts with positive, this negative cannot interact with this positive. Therefore, I can say that under photochemical condition, diene's face is not adding suprafacially. In fact, in order to achieve bonding interaction, the opposite face has to add. Therefore, diene's antarafacial addition is occurring on the diene. Moreover, indirectly I can say this plus lobe is moving in this direction, this minus lobe is moving in this direction, or in other words, this and this lobes are interacting. This interaction is what? This lobe is moving anti-clockwise, this lobe is also moving anti-clockwise. That means the process is conrotatory in nature. And as you can see, if it is a conrotatory process following the methyl with the motion of the lobe, if this lobe is moving in this direction, methyl is supposed to go down. If this lobe is moving in this direction, this methyl is also, if this lobe is moving in this direction, this methyl will follow and will go up. Therefore, this methyl is going up, and therefore in the product corresponding to the first carbon atom here, this methyl is going down. Corresponding to this carbon atom here, this methyl is going up. Hence, under photochemical conditions, we see a different result as far as the heliotropic reactions are concerned as compared to the thermal conditions. Therefore, I can say that the terminal p lobes of the diene, this one, terminal p lobes of the diene, which is this one, interacts with the p lobe of sulfur dioxide in a bonding fashion when the opposite face of the terminal lobes of the diene are adding. That means the addition is antarafacial, and hence we can sum up and say that because we are talking about linear approach, we are talking about photochemical conditions, it is the antarafacial face of the diene which is adding, and the process is occurring under conrotatory ring closure. So this is something how we can explain these 4 variables in the case of our heliotropic reactions. Now let's talk about the same examples. Earlier we've talked about linear approach. Now we'll talk about the non-linear approach. In non-linear approach, let's say under thermal conditions first. Under thermal conditions, the diene's HOMO is psi 2. And remember, the only difference, non-linear approach will be different from the linear approaches. What is the face of the sulfur dioxide in HOMO and LUMO? If I have to draw, let's say HOMO for diene, I have to draw LUMO for sulfur dioxide. Under non-linear approach, the same face is presented as in the case of HOMO for sulfur dioxide. So under non-linear approach, LUMO for sulfur dioxide p lobes are directly facing the p lobes of the diene. This is worth consideration. HOMO of the diene is psi 2 with 1 node. This is the orbital picture. Terminal lobes same phase as opposite sign. If I have to draw the LUMO In the case of non-linear approach, the LUMO is directly facing. Therefore, this has a negative sign here, let's say, in order to show bonding interaction. And as you can see, this is interacting in a bonding fashion. This cannot interact with the lower lobe in a bonding fashion because this is minus, this is plus. Therefore, the dyne cannot add suprafacially. In order to achieve bonding interaction, this negative has to interact with the upper phase. Therefore, dyne has to interact in a antarafacial manner. Also, indirectly, I can say this and this lobes are interacting. That means the adhesion is conrotatory on both components. Therefore, if this lobe is moving in this direction, this methyl here will go below the plane. If this lobe is moving in this direction, this methyl will go above the plane. Hence, in the product, the first methyl here goes below the plane and the fourth methyl here goes above the plane. This is the representation in the case of non-linear approach. Alternatively, if I've taken HOMO for this and LUMO for this one, I can take the LUMO for the dyne and HOMO for the sulfur dioxide molecule. LUMO for the dyne, once you excite the electron, becomes Psi3 star with two nodes. That means opposite faces have same sign. HOMO, in the case of non-linear approach, do not directly face. So the orbital picture is this one. Negative interacts with negative. Again, here this is positive. The lower face is negative. Therefore, we cannot interact. Therefore, we cannot interact the lower phase. That means suprafacial adhesion is not allowed. However, if the opposite faces of the dyne interact, then there is bonding interaction. Hence, we can say the dyne is interacting in an antarafacial manner. Of course, since this and this lobe are interacting, this kind of a rotation is disrotation. Disrotation would mean if this methyl is going down, this methyl will go up. Hence, the product would appear like this, which is of course similar to the product which we have drawn here. And therefore, as evident, we can sum it up and say that terminal lobes of dyne interact in an antarafacial manner. Opposite faces are adding one with sulfur dioxide to achieve a bonding interaction. Moreover, terminal lobes of the dyne therefore cyclize with sulfur dioxide in a conrotatory fashion. Since the opposite faces are adding, the adhesion is largely conrotatory. Hence, we can say that under non-linear approach, which we are discussing, the non-linear approach of sulfur dioxide, antarafacial to the dyne is thermally allowed, but with conrotation. Right? So this is something regarding the non-linear approach under thermal conditions. Let's discuss the non-linear approach under photochemical conditions. The only difference between thermal and photochemical condition would always remain that the HOMO of the dyne has to be considered. One electron from the Psi2 of the dyne under thermal conditions gets excited and goes to Psi3 star. Of course, the HOMO in the case of photochemical condition as far as dyne is concerned is Psi3 star, has two nodes. Two nodes means terminal lobes will have same sign. If I'm drawing HOMO for this one, under non-linear approach, the LUMO is drawn in such a way that the P lobes and P lobes are directly facing other. If this is negative, I draw this negative. And since they have same faces, you can see in this particular case, in the under photochemical conditions, it is the same face of the dyne which is adding. Therefore, dyne is adding in a suprafacial manner. Indirectly, this and this lobe is adding. This will interact. That means both lobes will move in a disrotatory fashion. Hence, this process is occurring under disrotatory fashion. Therefore, considering the above observations, it can be summarized that terminal lobes of the dyne interact in a suprafacial manner, as I've seen, with sulfur dioxide to achieve bonding interaction. 1 point. Terminal of the lobes of the dyne therefore cyclize in a disrotatory manner, again to achieve the bonding interaction. Hence, talking about the non-linear approach, the adhesion is occurring suprafacially to dyne under photochemical conditions, and this process occurs with the disrotatory ring closure mode. This is how you explain heliotropic reactions using linear, non-linear approach, and of course employing the services of the FMO approach. Right. We'll talk about certain examples here. This was the first example we have discussed. We'll talk now about the second example. We'll be now specific with our examples, not discuss the entire variables here. We'll not discuss linear approach under thermal and photochemical conditions, and similarly non-linear approach under thermal and photochemical conditions. We'll be specific with our examples. Let's say, for example, I'm taking this second example wherein I'm talking about an example in which your substituents here, the two methyls are above the plane, two hydrogens are below the plane. Under photochemical conditions, this is the product form. Now, I am given with the reaction conditions. I am given with the type of reaction is this molecule is undergoing. Looking at the position of the substituents in the product from the reactants, I can work out what kind of a stereochemical control this molecule is undergoing. Now let's do it one by one, and from there we'd work out what approach, either linear or non-linear approach, this sulfur dioxide extrudes from this dihydrothiophene dioxide molecule. Let's say what is the reaction. Of course, this is the product. If this bond breaks, this pi electrons come here. This bond breaks, this pi electron comes here. This sigma bond breaks and goes as a lone pair to sulfur dioxide, and we end up in the formation of a diene, and sulfur dioxide is extruded. Once this sulfur dioxide is extruded, let's work out the stereochemical mode. Now this is an important observation to work out the stereochemical mode. This is the orbital picture of the molecule. As you can see, these are two p lobes. In fact, there should not be a lobe here. This is wrongly drawn. There should not be a lobe here. This should be hydrogen here. This should be hydrogen here, right? So two p lobes forming the pi bond. I can draw this molecule in this way also. Just have rotated the molecule and written it this way. This bond is sigma bond. This bond is sigma bond, which has to break in the reaction and form, and sulfur dioxide has to be extruded. Let's say this is the sigma bond here. This is the sigma bond here. I've shown this sigma bond with the help of the internuclear overlap of the two p lobes. Now, while undergoing an internuclear overlap, as you can see in the product, this methyl here on the first carbon atom is going, let's say this is first carbon atom, and let's say this is fourth. This methyl here on the first carbon atom is going inside, and this methyl on the fourth carbon atom is going, let's say, outside. Or you can say other ways round, because I've depicted other way. Let's say this is 4, let's say this is 1, in order to avoid confusion. Okay, this methyl on the first carbon atom is going out, and this methyl on the fourth carbon atom is going in. Therefore, I can say that how are these lobes moving with respect to sulfur dioxide? See, if this methyl is above the plane, this lobe is like this. Methyl is above the plane. Methyl has to go out. How will the methyl go out? If this lobe rotates in this fashion. Now, if this lobe rotates in this fashion, let's say like this, how will this lobe go? This methyl will go inside. And if this lobes move in this direction, this methyl will go inside. In fact, I'm sorry, I've earlier only drawn it in the right way. Please correct it. This is 1, 2, 3, 4. On the first carbon atom, methyl is going in. This methyl was above the plane. It has to move in this direction to go inside. Therefore, this lobe is moving in this direction. If this methyl is above the plane, this is going out. This has to move in this direction to go out. So, if you look at these two lobes, this is moving in this direction. Let's say anti-clockwise. This is moving in this direction. Let's say anti-clockwise. That means both lobes are moving in an anti-clockwise fashion with respect to one another. Hence, the process of the stereochemical mode operator is connotate. I'll repeat what I'm trying to say. We have to see how these two sigma bonds are opening up. These two sigma bonds were like this, right? This has to open up like this. Either it can open up like this in disrotatory fashion, or like this in a connotatory fashion. Imagine you have a methyl above the plane. If you have a methyl above the plane like this, where will the methyl go? This is methyl which is above the plane. In the first case, the methyl is going inside. This methyl will go inside like this only if this lobe is moving in this direction. That means this lobe is moving in this direction. And similarly, this methyl will go outside if this lobe is moving in this direction. This is anti-clockwise, this is anti-clockwise. Both lobes are moving in an anti-clockwise fashion with respect to one another. Therefore, we can say that in this particular case, we have both methyls moving inside and outside. Hence, the process observed is connotatory in nature. Therefore, using the FMO approach, we can say now we worked out that the stereochemical mode is connotatory. Now we have to work out the approach, the linear or the non-linear approach in the case of your sulfur dioxide extrusion. Now, using FMO approach, since the conditions which we were talking about in this reaction were photochemical, using FMO approach, the HOMO of the diene under photochemical mode, the HOMO is Psi 3 star with 2 nodes. The LOMO for sulfur dioxide under linear approach, let's say, in which the P lobe does not face the diene lobe directly. And in the case of the linear approach, the LUMO of sulfur dioxide or the carbene does not face the lobe of the diene directly, whereas the LUMO of sulfur dioxide under non-linear approach faces the P lobe of the diene directly. That is the difference in the LUMOs under linear and non-linear approach as far as sulfur dioxide is concerned. So we are known that this reaction is occurring photochemically. we are known that the process, and we worked out that the process involved is connotation. Now let's see that under which reaction, which approach, linear or non-linear, this would be possible. Let's try to draw the orbital picture for linear as well as non-linear approach. When we draw the orbital picture for linear approach, as I've told you, the HOMO for the dyne should be psi3 star having two nodes. That means the two node means that even node means that the terminal lobes same face will have same sign and opposite faces will have different signs. Now while drawing the LUMO for the linear approach, the lobe cannot directly face the P lobes of the dyne, therefore it has to be drawn in this fashion. Positive interacts with positive. Now since this process was connotation, connotation would mean that the terminal lobe of the dyne's opposite faces should interact, and since positive is interacting with positive, this negative cannot interact with this positive, it has to interact with this negative to achieve bonding interaction. Hence indirectly this lobe's lower face and this lobe's upper face is interacting, and therefore this process is connotation. And therefore this process, since following the connotatory ring mode, the process is allowed, hence this process is allowed with connotation. Let's see whether the non-linear approach is also allowed with connotation or not. Again, same orbital picture. The only difference is while drawing the non-linear approach, the LUMO of the sulfur dioxide directly faces the lobes of the dyne. Now if you look at this thing using the connotatory approach, this and this lobe should interact. So there is a bonding interaction here, but there is an anti-bonding interaction here. Therefore this connotatory process is not allowed in the non-linear approach. Hence we can work out that the sulfur dioxide in this particular example is extruded out in a linear approach. Therefore in the given example, the variables are that the reaction was given, that it was proceeding in a photochemical manner. We have worked out that the process was connotation, and with the help of FMO approach we have worked out that a linear approach was involved in this particular reaction. So we have to work out this way that which stereochemical mode can be provided. Out of these variables, at times we may not be provided with the reaction condition, at times we may not be provided with the stereochemical mode, and at times we may not be provided with the linear approach, but certain factors have to be provided in order to work out the other factors or the other variables. Now let's take a third example here to explain chelotropic reactions again. Let's say I'm talking about this example. In this particular example, as you can see, I have this cyclic heptadiene system having a sulfur atom inside it. Once you thermally react this one, what happens is that this molecule opens up, sulfur dioxide is extruded, and we have this hexatriene molecule. How does this reaction proceed is simple. This was the bond, the sigma bond between sulfur and the ring system. This was the sigma bond between this one. This bond breaks and forms a pi bond between this and this. This pi bond reorganizes between these two carbon atoms. This pi bond forms a pi bond between these two carbon atoms. This sigma bond breaks and forms a lone pair at the sulfur atom, and hence sulfur dioxide is extruded and we get a hexatriene molecule. So this is how sulfur dioxide extrusion is occurring. We are provided with this thing that the reaction is proceeding through in a thermal conditions. Now what we are given is that both methyls in the hexatriene system are away from this dyne. That means they are in a E geometrical relationship. What we were given in the reactant was one methyl was above and one methyl was below at this stereo center. Now we have to work out what is the stereochemical mode. In order to work out the stereochemical mode, let's keep this molecule in this phase. This methyl was above, this methyl was below. Methyl above, methyl below. In the product, the methyls are both going out. In the product, methyls are both going out. So I can depict this problem in this phase also similar. Now how is this process occurring? Let's try to work out. We know that this and this lobe is opening up. How will these two lobes open up? The lobe is something like this. This can open up like this, or this can open up. If it opens up like this, this is disrotatory. If it opens up like this, it is conrotatory. Let's say which way it is opening up is decided by the phase or the positioning of the subsequence in the acyclic component. Now as you can see here, this methyl is above the plane. In the product, it is going towards the left. It was above the plane. In the product, it is going towards the left. If it is going towards the left, that means if this is methyl which is above the plane, this has to rotate in this fashion. Therefore, this lobe has to rotate in this fashion only in order to bring methyl which was above the plane to the left. And if you want to bring this methyl which was below the plane, which was below the plane, if I am moving it out, this lobe has to rotate in this fashion. Therefore, this lobe rotates in this fashion. Therefore, this lobe is rotating, let's say, in a anti-clockwise fashion. This lobe is also rotating in an anti-clockwise fashion. Both lobes are rotating in a similar direction. The process is conrotatory. Therefore, we have worked out that this particular reaction is occurring in a conrotatory fashion, right? Now, I have to use FMO approach. Remember, the conditions were thermal. Under thermal conditions, I know I'm considering a hexatriene system because the FMO approach is applicable to the open chain acyclic system. So the application of the FMO approach has to be on this system and not on the cyclic system. So I'm talking about a hexatriene system, which is a 6 pi electron system. HOMO under thermal conditions, which is under consideration, should be Psi3 with 2 nodes. And of course, as discussed previously, LUMO for sulfur dioxide in the case of linear approach should not be facing directly, whereas LUMO of sulfur dioxide in non-linear approach should be facing the dye directly. Let's draw both the probabilities. Let's draw the linear approach and the non-linear approach. Psi3 HOMO, 2 nodes, terminal lobe same phase has same sign. Terminal lobe same phase has same sign, right? Now, process was conrotatory, that means this and this lobe are interacting indirectly. Now, while drawing the LUMO in the case of linear approach, do not directly face. Positive drawn here, negative drawn here, have a bonding interaction here, and with conrotatory process there is a bonding interaction. Therefore, this conrotatory process as depicted in this orbital picture is allowed. And if you talk about the non-linear approach, the only difference is how you draw the lobe on the sulfur dioxide. It is directly facing. Once it is directly facing, this lobe is having an anti-bonding interaction with the conrotatory process. Therefore, this process is forbidden. Therefore, in this given example, I can say conditions were thermal. These were given to us. We have worked out the stereochemical mode, which is conrotatory, and this is possible under linear approach. Let's say I give another example, example 4. Let's say I put both methyls in this position. Add sulfur dioxide to this under thermal conditions. One methyl is going above, another methyl is going out. The given thing is reaction conditions. The given thing is what is the positioning of this methyl group. I have to work out with whether this approach is linear or non-linear. Let's see, can we figure this out or figure out this problem just by thinking and not drawing the molecule? Let's see. We talk about both the approaches, the linear and the non-linear approach, but first we have to figure out what is the state of stereochemical mode, whether this ring is closing in a conrotatory fashion or a disrotatory fashion. Now, for this to happen, this methyl is towards the right. In the product, this methyl is going up. That means this particular lobe should be closing in this fashion. Okay, this methyl, which is on the right here, in the product, this is going below the plane. This will only go below the plane if this moves like this. Therefore, this lobe is moving in this direction. So both lobes, as you can see, one lobe is moving in the, let's say, one lobe is moving towards the right. The other lobe is also moving towards the, one lobe is moving towards the, let's say like this, in order to bring the methyl up, which was earlier here. And another lobe is moving in order to bring the methyl down, is moving opposite direction. Therefore, the process or the stereochemical mode is disrotatory. If we can figure this out, that the stereochemical mode is disrotatory, then it becomes easy for us to understand. Disrotatory stereochemical mode would mean that the terminal lobes same phase is interacting. Terminal lobes same phase will only interact once you have a system in which the signs are similar. Now, let's consider this thing. Hexatriene. Under thermal conditions, the HOMO is Psi3. Psi3 HOMO would mean that there are 2 nodes. 2 nodes means that the terminal lobe same phase is having the same signs. Now, if it is having the same sign, if you draw the LUMO here, the LUMO of sulfur dioxide should not be directly facing. Process is disrotatory. There will be an anti-bonding interaction. Therefore, linear approach will not be allowed. Once you consider the non-linear approach, under non-linear approach, you draw the P lobe directly facing it. Both pluses are having a bonding interaction. Therefore, process is allowed. Hence, I can figure out just by thinking in my mind that this process should be occurring in a non-linear fashion. Right. So let's wind this topic up. And let's first of all try to write the results and then try to create a selection table from these results. Let's remember the result of the problem which we have discussed completely, addition of sulfur dioxide to dye. If you remember, linear approach under thermal conditions was allowed with disrotation. Linear approach under photochemical conditions was allowed with conrotation. Similarly, non-linear approach under thermal conditions were allowed with conrotation. Non-linear approach under photochemical conditions was allowed with dis-rotation. Therefore, I can create a selection table here. And how can I create a selection table? That is easy. First of all, I'll talk about a system. There are two kinds of system, 4q and 4q plus 2 pi system. These are number of pi electrons in the acyclic polyene molecule, that is the reactant side. Now under allowed reaction, on one side I'll write linear approach, on the second side I'll write non-linear approach. Let's look at the result and make it. As far as your diene is concerned, because the formula has to be applied on the diene or the polyene. Diene means 2 pi bonds, that means 4 pi electrons, so should be following this row. Diene is this one. Under linear approach, allowed under thermal conditions or photochemical conditions, let's say under thermal condition, this process is allowed with dis-rotation. And again, as you remember, how do we used to draw the selection table? Diagonally it was similar and adjacent it was different. Similarly, you can say that this condition under linear approach is allowed with dis-rotation, and conrotation is allowed under thermal conditions with non-linear approach. So we can create a selection table for this sigmatropic reaction also from the formulas that we have, from the results that we have in the reactions. Similarly, we can also create the formula. And while creating the formula, it is extremely important because the formulas are really informative and very easy to work out as far as the reaction is concerned. Because if you consider the formula here, I'll say there are 4 variables involved. The first variable is either reaction can be thermal or photochemical. The second variable is as far as the acyclic polyene is concerned, whether the pi bonds can be odd or even. Third variable is reaction can the sulfur dioxide or the carbene approach in a linear or a non-linear fashion. And the fourth variable is the ring can close in a disrotatory or a conrotatory fashion. So creating a formula, I can say, for example, again let me take the result of the addition of sulfur dioxide to diene under thermal condition is allowed with disrotation in a linear approach. This result I've already had. So if I follow this result, reaction condition is thermal T. Diene is a 2 pi bond system, therefore even number of pi bonds in the diene. Approach, as I've told you in this particular condition, is the linear approach. The process was allowed under disrotatory stereochemical mode. So TELD, my formula which will come out is TELD. And again, the formula rules remains the same, that change any 2 variables and let the remaining be fixed. Therefore, from one formula I can create number of formulas. For example, if I keep T fixed, TELD was my formula, thermal is fixed, E becomes even only, let's say do not change it, therefore linear becomes non-linear, disrotatory becomes conrotatory. Thermal fixed, even becomes odd, out of the two one has to be changed. Linear becomes, let's say linear only, dis becomes con. Thermal remains same, even becomes odd, linear becomes non-linear, dis remains dis only. So 4 formulas here, and similarly 4 formulas from the photochemical reaction, changing 2 things, keeping the 2 things fixed. You only need to remember one formula while working out the heliotropic reactions. So this is something regarding heliotropic reactions. What we are saying or talking about in the case of heliotropic reactions is that these are those reactions which would involve the formation of sigma bonds onto a same atom only. This can be a carbon atom, or in the case of sulfur dioxide, sulfur atom. Now there are 4 variables which are involved in the, or 2 stereochemical modes or 2 approaches which are involved. Either it is the linear approach or it is the non-linear approach, the way in which the carbene or the sulfur dioxide approaches the polyene system. Now once it approaches the polyene system, the carbon atoms, the terminal carbon atoms of the diene framework or the polyene framework becomes sp3 hybridized. Therefore, I have to talk about the stereochemistry there also, and hence either the ring can close in a conrotatory fashion or a disrotatory fashion. This is also another point of consideration. So 4 variables are involved. We have to work out that 4 variables with the help of FM approach and achieve at the result that under which reaction conditions this process will be allowed. Thank you so much, and in the next lecture we'll talk about the 1,3 dipolar cycloaddition reactions.